Hi, and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is F200, and today I will provide you my justification why I decided to go with this lens instead of choosing viable options Nikon Z100-400 or waiting for Nikon 200-600, or if I hypothetically had cash to buy a 400 f2.8, or maybe adapting through FTZ older lenses like 200-500, 5.6, and of course the mighty 500 f.6 PF. Let's start with the simplest option, the 400 2.8, even if we disregard the budget. Oh, and by the way, just forgot to mention, please support this growing YouTube channel by doing whatever is necessary to feed the algorithm. For example, liking this video and subscribing to my channel if you like the content about Nikon gear. And if you have any questions regarding items described here, please leave them below in the comments. Continuing to the video. The simplest option to consider was 400 2.8, beautiful lens with built-in TC, as I said, even if we don't consider the cost of the lens. The primary reason I would not buy it is its weight. Although I know it is considerably lighter than the F-mount version, and it is superb lens to use for pro photographers. I am not a pro photographer, I am an amateur, and I am not doing wildlife photography or sports photography as my job. I don't earn money through it, I do it for my enjoyment. And my typical scenario of photography is walking around the place where I know some animals or birds may occur, and lugging heavy lens is very demotivating. In my experience using Nikon F mount gear, I had a Tamron 300mm 2.8 which I used with a teleconverter to have reach around 500mm, because there was a 1.7 teleconverter and that lens was heavy. It was, I don't want to lie, how much heavy, around 2.5 kilos, 3 kilos, something like that. And also the D800 was a kilo, so it was a very heavy package. And basically I couldn't use this lens handheld, maybe only with a very fast shutter speeds when there is a lot of light. And it was very cumbersome to carry around, and because of that my strive to photograph was suffering. Although I need to be honest, with that lens I took the single photo which was printed in National Geographic. I will show it here. Yes, it was a popular choice by the audience, not chosen by the staff, but nevertheless I have some Medal of Honor being published in National Geographic Ukrainian edition. The weight is a very big consideration because of my type of photography. I'm not sitting in the blind. I'm not going to a specific spot with a tripod knowing that there will be some specific object subject to shoot. I am walking around, having fun, enjoying weather, listening to the sounds of nature, and taking occasional pictures when the situation is favorable and the subject is not very skittish and flying or running away. What options are remaining? 100-400 Nikon Z, Nikon Z200-600, and F-mount lenses to adapt. Let's do away with 200-600. A very interesting focal length for the wildlife photography. Judging by the success of the Sony version of this lens, I think Nikon would be definitely not worse, but I even think even better. And the biggest thing was like I given up hope on waiting for this lens. Basically, it was announced in the roadmap, or almost in the first or the second iteration of the roadmap. It was like 4 years with Nikon Z6, and I was still waiting, and I couldn't wait more because like I was wasting my life waiting for this lens, which should have been announced 2 years ago, a year ago, and another deadline passed and is still not announced at this point, beginning of May, end of April 2023. The second reasoning was, besides waiting, the Nikon 200-500 f mount is very heavy. Sony 200-600 is heavy. And the problem of these lenses is their front heaviness. When mounted on the camera, a lot of glass is in the front of the lens, and when you're carrying it around, it is dragging you down, wrenching out the camera of your hands. So the weight, same issue as for the 400 2.8. As I learned, weight prohibits you from enjoying photography. Yes, I need to be honest, at 600 it is expected to be 6.3 aperture, which is only 1/3 of a stop from f5.6. If you put a 1.4 TC on this f4.5 lens, it would be around 560 and f6.3, so the same aperture at the longest length, yes, slightly short of a focal distance, but without zoom ability of 200 to 600 or whatever it will be. 200 to 600 would be a heavy lens by itself. It would be a front heavy lens additionally to all those weight, so it would be not that comfortable not only to carry around but to shoot with it, so it definitely will need support. It will be quite dark lens, even not in terms of the light gathering capabilities per se, because modern cameras are quite good at high ISOs, but in terms of blurring the background. By the way, that's why I'm not buying the TCs for this lens, because it is not optimal choice. I'm waiting for the crop sensor or semi-pro camera from Nikon just to get the pixel density from the sensor and not from the tele converter. The biggest competitor to this lens, of course, is 100 to 400, because it is similar in price and even a little bit cheaper than 400 fixed lens. It is a zoom, which is very convenient. And the biggest thing of that lens, and the single thing which pains me not having in 400 f4.5, is its close focusing capability. Because I love macro photography, and above all in macro photography I love shooting dragonflies. And that lens could be perfect for dragonfly photography, because dragonflies are big, not small. So you don't need 1:1 magnification, and that lens gives 1:2, I think. More than enough to have even smaller, like blue arrow dragonfly in focus, filling all the frame. For bigger dragonflies that is even too much. that pains me, yes. But I decided against it because of the f5.6 aperture. It's not a bad aperture, it's plenty enough for light gathering, as I said, but it doesn't provide background separation I'm looking for. And by the way, this lens is still lighter than the zoom. That's why I didn't choose the zoom version, because I needed a brighter aperture, paying a little bit more, losing the zoom ability. Not a very big thing for me, and not having ability for close-up photography. Yes, that is a big thing, because that would be my sole lens for all wildlife photography, including dragonflies. But also one of the reasons was I didn't go for 100 to 400 because of this. I already had the 70 to 300 mil. Of course, I will link somewhere my review to this lens. This is not any 70 to 300. This is AFP version, so this is a more expensive version of this lens. So it is like this new Z mount 100 to 400, but F mount and slightly shorter focal length. So it is optically superb, even at 300 mil. A great lens. Yes, some problems with bokeh when a very busy background, especially grass. It can be a bit disturbing, but shooting birds into the branches, into the leaves, no problem. And it covers basically this focal length, which I am losing in case of going to fixed lens, not buying the zoom lens. And also it doubles down as a travel-friendly kit for me. I purchased it because at the beginning, when I was waiting to 200 to 600, I was thinking like maybe I should buy 200 to 500 F and have this reach, and I saw a very steep discount, almost sale price on this 70-300, and I rationalized, okay, I will not having that big reach, but I will be having a lens which I will keep forever. For a lot of time, because it is very good optically, it is compact, and it fits perfectly into the traveling scenario when I don't have ability to carry a lot of gear with me. So I won't need to sell, and in case of 200-500 I would definitely need to sell after I get the 200-600. And as things came about, it was right choice and wrong choice. So I didn't get the ability to buy 200-600 because it's still not released, and I spent several years without the reach, but it grew on me and convinced me to buy the 400. Also, there are two options. The very direct competitor is 500 F5.6 PF, which I think is not only longer reach, obviously 500 is 400, but in converting the digits it even slightly brighter or similar to this lens, and the price was like similar to this lens. It is slightly longer, it is slightly heavier, costs the same. If you consider in buying the teleconverter for this lens, F variant 5mm is a better choice. I decided that I would sacrifice the reach for the better background blur, for a bit bigger versatility, because 400 can be used better for sports. Without having the zoom range, it is better to have a zoomed out, more wider lens. And I planned to wait for Nikon to release the DX Pro camera to use it, and it will yield me a 600mm, which would be quite nice combo, with 400 on full frame. Sometimes it is tricky to find the buzzard flying across the sky, but not a big problem. Imagine having 800mm. I just can't understand how people are pointing this lens to the subject and finding it, because the field of view is so narrow. Have I done wrong not waiting for my initial choice of 200-600? Maybe because that lens would be definitely cheaper, but I think it's still a correct choice, because I'm not buying the lens hypothetically which I would want to upgrade sometime in future. I'm buying the lens which is perfect for what it is, and there is no direct upgrade path for this lens. There is nothing to replace it with. It is as light as it can possibly be for the focal length and for its aperture. The price is reasonable. Optically it is stellar. It has great VR, allowing me to shoot video handheld. Nothing to complain about. For me it is perfect choice, but if you are more general type of nature, landscape photography, and not focusing on the specific wildlife, birds, yes, go for 100-400 Z version. It would be a much more versatile lens. But as I said, I have another one to cover for that. I think I'm rambling a lot. I need to wrap up this video. So again, please subscribe if you want to see more from me. If you want to help this small growing YouTube channel reach some heights of 1000 subscribers. And like this video if this was helpful content for you. Leave any comments whether you like this video or you want to learn more from me. If you have any questions about the things I talk here. Thank you very much for spending time with me. Hope you to see you again in another videos, and have a nice day. Bye.